Hey everyone and welcome. Today we are going to dive into one of the most powerful and honestly most useful features in SQL, functions. We're going to look at the tools that come right out of the box, and then we'll learn how to actually forge our very own. So let's jump right in.
So, does this sound familiar? You're writing a query, and you find yourself typing out the exact same case statements, the same math formulas, the same logic over and over and over again. You know, it's clunky, it's slow, and honestly, it's just asking for a typo to mess everything up.
Well, it turns out there is a much smarter way to work, and that way is using SQL functions. Just think of them as these powerful, reusable little programs that are going to make your code cleaner, faster, and way more efficient.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the tools that SQL gives you for free right out of the box. I love this analogy. Think of them as the pre-programmed buttons on a calculator. You know, they're already there, just waiting to solve common problems for you.
And yeah, an inbuilt function is, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a pre-written piece of code that's designed to do one specific, super common task. You don't have to write the logic, you just have to call its name and give it some data to chew on.
And believe me, they cover a ton of different jobs. You've got aggregate functions for summarizing data, comparison functions to find the biggest or smallest values, math functions for all your calculations, and string functions for messing with text. These are your everyday, go-to tools.
To really see what I mean, let's just grab one of the most common functions of all time, sum. Its job is super simple. It just adds things up.
Now check out how simple this query is. We've got multiple lines here for invoice number 1006. Now instead of us having to pull every single one of those lines and add them up ourselves, we just wrap that TBL line price column in the sum function.
And boom, this is what makes these tools so awesome. The database does all the heavy lifting for you, collapsing all those individual values down into one single, clean total. It's simple, it's efficient, and you get your answer right away. Okay, but what happens when your calculator doesn't have the button you need? You know, what if you have a really specific business calculation that you have to do all the time? Well, that's when you build your own button, and that's where user-defined functions come into play.
So this is the big difference you got to get, right? An inbuilt function is a standard tool that just comes with the database. A user-defined function, or a UDF, that's a custom tool that you design, you build for your own specific needs.
At its heart, a UDF is really just a named block of code that you create to wrap up some common formula or piece of business logic. You give it some input, it does its special thing, and it always returns a single value as the output. And the cool thing is, building one follows a really clear logical pattern. First, you give your function a name and tell it what kind of data it needs. Second, you tell it what kind of data it's going to give back. Third, you write the actual code that does all the work. And finally, you just use that return keyword to send the result back out.
Let's look at a real-world example. Now, don't get too hung up on some of the extra syntax here, like delimiter. That just helps the database understand our code. What we're doing is creating a function called fn customer level. It takes one input, a customer's balance. Inside, we've got a simple business rule. If the balance is over 10, the customer's level is good. Otherwise, it's noop. A little harsh, I know, but it's clear. And this whole piece of logic is now packaged up under one simple name.
And this is the payoff.
Just look at how clean that select statement on the left is. We just call our brand new function fn customer level, and we pass it the balance for each customer. The result on the right? A perfectly classified list. All of that if-else logic is completely hidden away, making our query incredibly simple to read and to write.
So, why is learning how to do all this so important? Well, because it's a total game changer for how you interact with your database.
It really boils down to this. You're not just writing one-off queries anymore. You are actually building intelligence and business rules directly into the database itself. You're making it smarter, and you're making it more powerful.
I mean, the benefits here are huge. Your code becomes reusable, you write a complex rule just once, and then you can call it from 100 different places. It becomes simple, your main queries are no longer cluttered with all this messy logic, and maybe most importantly, it becomes consistent. Everyone on your team uses the exact same function, which guarantees that critical business rules get calculated the same way every single time. No exceptions.
So at the end of the day, getting a handle on both of these types of functions, it's a huge level up for your skills. You stop being someone who just asks the database for data, and you start becoming an engineer who actually designs intelligent, efficient, and reliable solutions.
So I'll leave you with a question to chew on.
What repetitive calculation or messy business rule in your own projects could be packaged up into a clean, simple, and powerful function? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me today.